Hey guys, it's B and Vanessa Guillen's family is in Washington, and they were going to push legislation and to open a investigation and separate investigation into what happened to Vanessa. And while they were there, they find out about potentially Vanessa's remains, which they do believe that they are Vanessa. They are just waiting on confirmation. But this press conference, it's um, they go into detail at about the 18:25 mark, 18 minutes and 25-second mark. The attorney starts taking questions, and that's when a lot of details seem to come out. But there's 3 suspects. One suspect killed himself, and 2 are in custody. And from what they're saying, it is the people that she had accused of sexual harassment. And in fact, as they will say in the press conference, one of these guys, I mean, these were her boss. This was her boss, in essence, is what the attorney says. And in fact, one of the guys, they laugh right at her sister when they go to base and they're trying to get answers. And the one that killed himself is the one that laughed at her. Anyways, guys, it's a good press conference. It is, we have to have change. So share this press conference. Get Vanessa's name out there because um, sexual harassment is very prevalent on bases, and it's a system to where they can only report from within. They are not allowed to report elsewhere, and that has to change because there's no independence there. There's too much bias. Anyways, this is all unfolding and this is breaking. So here's the press conference. I guess it happened maybe about an hour ago. All right, guys, I was recording for the press conference. This says perps mix and pour wet cement in Fort Hood soldier's body to hide her, kind of like a body vault. According to Miller, there were several suspects in connection with the disappearance of 20-year-old Guillen. The Guillen family lawyer, Natalie Quammen, said one of the suspects, identified as Aaron Robertson, shot himself overnight around 1:30, which she does talk about that in the press conference. Wednesday, after learning human remains were found, he ran out in shorts when confronted and shot himself in the head. The remains were found in a shallow grave next to Lake Leon in Texas, and Miller said Guillen, although it has been as it has to be confirmed, from a medical examiner. The official confirmation could take a while since the remains were sealed in concrete. The suspected killers, according to Miller, poured freshly mixed concrete directly on Guillen's body to make a homemade body vault. They also allegedly bought lime, shovels, and plastic bags and then covered the body with rocks. Miller said family members known that Guillen was likely found deceased. He spoke with them after he heard media reports about the remains found. Family members pleaded with Miller for answers when no one at the Army would provide them information. I was driving up here yesterday when the Sister Meyer called me. I'm choked up now. It's one of the saddest calls I've ever had to make in my life, Miller said. No military, no one even called her. Guillen disappeared April 22nd, was called into work on her day off. Someone inside Fort Hood spotted by a witness carrying a black 3-foot Pelican case at the armory where Guillen worked. Guillen was called into work on her day off and was never seen again. Miller added that the suspects tried to burn Guillen in evidence at the crime scene near Leon Lake, which is around 26 miles from the base. Miller saw tree limbs scorched above the fire pit, and the suspects used to burn evidence. A half-burned Pelican briefcase was also found at the scene. My theory is she was killed inside the armory. I think she was killed earlier that morning in the armory, and somebody came back around 8:30 that night, and that's when somebody spotted him with the Pelican case. She apparently could have been in the Pelican case for 10 hours inside the armory somewhere else. Miller added that a civilian noticed a foul odor in the area. Recent intensified in the stench of the remains and contacted police. Oh my God. We should know by the end of the day all body parts are there, Miller said. Adding it is possible only partial remains were found, a question that remains whether Guillen was dismembered. The members are currently at Southwest Institute for Forensic Science in Dallas. Let's see. Gillian's mother previously told Crime Online her daughter had been sexually harassed by a sergeant on base. All right. So, and I did also hear there are 3 suspects. One of them shot himself, as I just read, and you'll see in the press conference. But also that a ex-wife of one of the suspects, I believe is what I heard, is also in custody. But there is a woman in custody. So we'll get more on that, and I'm just going to put this in the press conference video. Like I said, I just seen it or was made aware of it. We're going to get justice for this beautiful girl. Change has got to happen.
Protocol was breached in every manner. We lost one of our own on our own base. Unacceptable, should never happen ever. Not just once, one person, too many is what happened here. I have Vanessa Guillen's family here, her father, her sisters. Congressman Tulsi Gabbard was kind enough to come in and meet the family and give her support. Like we said before, we demand a congressional investigation. This should never have happened. And we will never know what happened ever until we get a congressional investigation, because everything we were given was lies. It was evasive. They were not sincere. They were actually very disingenuous to us. I don't know who's covering up for who, but it doesn't matter. We lost a life. We lost a beautiful young soldier. And it's time we fix our system. Women should not be afraid to come forth about sexual harassment. They should not fear reporting sexual harassment. This is unacceptable. It's 2020. What's happening? Sexual harassment's not criminal? That was what we were told. Well, guess what? We have a dead person because of sexual harassment. It is criminal. We want legislation. We need legislation so this never happens again. There was a strong young woman who died. She was strong. She ran. She played soccer. She was going for a hike that day. If she can get killed, who couldn't get killed? This could happen to any of our mothers, our sisters, our daughters. Enough is enough. One person too many. We want a bill in her name, I am Vanessa Guillen, ready to be passed that says you don't be afraid to report sexual harassment. You report it, and you need a third party to report it to. Like any other private company, when somebody gets sexually harassed, you call the EEOC, independent agency. Nothing to do with the company. How is it that when you are in the military, you can only report internally? How can they feel safe? They're getting blackballed. They're getting, what is it called? Insubordination remarks, comments. Women do not, and men, do not feel safe reporting sexual harassment in the military. You go to the webpage of I am Vanessa Guillen, and you will see hundreds and hundreds of soldiers' stories that are so disheartening, that all these women face this kind of harassment and couldn't say anything. Harassment and assault, because harassment leads to assault. Just because someone doesn't want to talk about it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And today we're here to demand a congressional investigation into how the protocol was breached, how this family, who deserves answers, never got any. We couldn't even know the name of the person she worked with that day, who we understand is the person who killed himself. What planet are we on? It's wrong. We need transparency. I want to introduce Myra, Vanessa's sister.
It takes a lot for me to be up here this morning. As you know, it's not confirmed yet whether it's my sister or not, but at this point, everything points to it. I really can't speak on what my family feels at the moment. My mom, she couldn't make it. She is feeling really ill. And on top of everything, I still have to lead on with making sure that my sister gets everything that she deserves. She needs respect. She needs everybody's help. We need the congressional investigation as soon as possible. They lied to us since day one. Fort Hood, they're hiding. I don't know what. I don't know who. I'm surprised they even admitted the foul play. And I truly hope that whoever's responsible, because it's not just with that one person. And they need to get prosecuted for what they did. At this point, they lied to us since day one. When I first went up to that base, that subject, I met him. Not knowing that he had something to do with it, I felt something was telling me that he did something and I wasn't wrong, apparently. He still had the nerve that same day to laugh in my face. And apparently now he kills himself. Why, I don't know. But whoever's responsible has to pay. And we demand a congressional investigation. And I need everyone's help to keep the story alive, because they claim that sexual harassment is not, apparently to them, it's not important. What about now? Because it led up to this, now everybody wants to turn their tables? El día de hoy, mi mamá no puede estar presente con nosotros. Ella no se siente bien. Ella está muy mal. Todo apunta a que puede ser mi hermana. No estamos seguros todavía. Estamos esperando la confirmación. Pero no entiendo cómo fueron capaces de mentir desde el primer día. ¿Por qué? No lo sé. ¿Quién y por qué? No es posible que ella tan joven ella era muy valiente, y para que le hayan hecho eso no es justo.
I'd like to ask Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard to come forth and speak a few words before she has to go back.
It's with tremendous sadness and heartbreak that we stand here today with Vanessa Guillen's family. Her dad, Roger, and her sisters, Myra and Lupe, and her mother, Gloria. What they are going through is unimaginable. We stand here for Vanessa. We stand here for justice. We stand here for every other service member who's experienced sexual harassment or assault and did not feel safe reporting it out of fear of retaliation. For years, the Department of Defense has talked about reform. For years, Congress has pushed the Department of Defense towards the necessary reforms. Some changes have been made, but these changes have not gone nearly far enough. What is happening here today is evidence of that. I've served as a soldier in the Army for over 17 years. My first 4 years in the Army were as a young junior enlisted soldier, just like Vanessa. I later went on to become a commissioned officer where I served as a platoon leader and later a company commander. I know personally the strength of and the importance of the chain of command. I also know and understand that fear that Vanessa must have felt. I know and understand how critical it is for our young troops, our young soldiers, to have trust in and faith in their chain of command, which is why these acts of abuse and harassment coming from within that chain of command are so destructive and have such a devastating impact on a young soldier and on the integrity and cohesiveness of that unit. This is why throughout my time in Congress, I have long advocated for real reforms through legislation like the Military Justice Improvement Act and other bills that would provide an independent, transparent path towards justice for victims of sexual harassment and assault by providing them a way to report these incidents outside of the chain of command, where they would feel safe from that fear of retaliation and would have the trust that they would have their day in court, that they would be able to seek true justice. This is what Vanessa and her family deserve. This is what all of our service members deserve, this justice and closure. So I stand with the Guillen family in calling for congressional oversight to find out exactly what happened to her. The fact that over 60 days has gone by and still there's been no disclosure of the internal investigation of her sexual harassment charges is absolutely unacceptable. We need to know why she did not get the help that she needed when she needed it, and why this family is forced to grieve and mourn her loss here today. Congress needs to do its job. The Department of Defense needs to do its job to truly serve and provide justice to the men and women who voluntarily serve our country and put their lives on the line. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Gabbard. We're going to now bring Lupa, her sister, Vanessa's sister, to speak.
The human remains have yet not been confirmed, but I still don't lose hope. My mother's on bed right now with pills. Why? Because they lied to our faces every single day that passed. Every single day, which is 2 months, more than 2 months. My sister, Vanessa Guillen, was sexually harassed, yet nothing was done to it. For her lacks of responsibility, safety, and respect, because they didn't respect my sister. They didn't keep my sister safe. They always try to cover up for each other. Why? My sister's a human too. She deserves respect. She deserves to be heard. Because if this can happen to my sister, it can happen to anyone else. My sister was also sexually harassed, and this led to this. They don't protect our service women and men. They're the ones putting their life at risk every day for the nation and for us. Just like my sister. How can this happen on military base? How can this happen while she was on duty? How can this just happen and they let it go under the rug like if it was nothing? They take sexual harassment, sexual assault as a joke. Just see the hashtag I am Vanessa Guillen. All those men and women in our service suffering from sexual harassment, suffering from sexual assault. because they report it, yet they take it as a joke. My sister's no joke. My sister's a human being. And I want justice. And I want answers. Because my sister did not do this to herself. Someone did it. And it's not one someone. It's various people. And if this can happen to my sister, what makes you think it can happen to other service women and men? They don't care about us. My sister's an example of it. My sister did not deserve to suffer. My sister did not deserve this. But yet I do not lose hope on God. Because God has the last word. My sister deserves justice. That's why we demand a congressional investigation to be done. Because Fort Hood, the great place, hasn't done anything at all. And this is the proof they have lied to us. They don't work for anything. They lie to us every single time. My mother's in bed with pills. My mother does not deserve this. I don't deserve this. My family does not deserve this. Vanessa Guillen did not deserve this. And if those criminals are still out there, take my word that we will not rest, we will not stop, and we will keep fighting until you're behind bars. Because you're a disgrace to humanity. You're a disgrace. Mi madre, Gloria Guillen, está en cama con pastillas. Los restos humanos no han sido confirmados, pero no pierdo la esperanza en Dios. Mi hermana Vanessa Guillen fue acosada sexualmente en base mientras estaba trabajando. En 2 meses no conseguimos respuestas. 2 meses. 2 meses. No han mentido una y otra vez. Tomaron a mi hermana como si fuera un chiste. Mi hermano no es un chiste. Mi hermano es un ser humano como nosotros. Mi hermana Vanessa Guillen puso su vida por el país, puso su vida por nosotros, y miren cómo la trataron. Nomás miren el hashtag I am Vanessa Guillen a todas esas mujeres y hombres que han sido acusados sexualmente. Nomás miren ese hashtag. Fort Hood no tiene responsabilidad, no tiene seguridad y no respetan a los demás. Y esos criminales que están allá afuera, que se están protegiendo uno al otro, se los juro que van a terminar tras las rejas. Se los juro. Porque todo va a salir a la luz. Todas las respuestas que vamos a tener por la investigación congresional que demandamos. Porque en Fort Hood nunca hemos tenido respuestas alguna. Cada día nos han mentido. Cada día. Mi hermana es un ser humano también. Y se merece el respeto.
Well, I want to say thanks to everyone for the help me and my family. Y a toda la gente que nos ayudó a todo lo que está haciendo posible hasta ahorita. Es todo lo que yo quiero decir y pues que se haga justicia. Gracias.
We're going to open up for questions. Anyone have any questions?
Family, but had been discouraged or afraid to make the allegation. And who is this person that may be the one who killed himself in the last couple of hours?
So, Vanessa did report the sexual harassment. Vanessa did report the sexual harassment. She reported it to her sisters. She reported it to her mother. She reported it to her friends. She reported to other soldiers on base. She many people recommended, why don't you just report it formally to your command and such? But she was afraid to, because the command, obviously, the sexual harassment was coming from her superiors. So her concern was the retaliation, being blackballed, being retaliated against. She just wanted to have a career in the military, and she didn't want that to, ruin her career. As we all know, victims do get retaliated against. They get questioned, they get assassinated. Their character assassinations occur every day, and she just was afraid to do so, like many other victims are afraid to come forward. It's not an independent agency you're reporting to. It's an internal process. People that she serves with, they have the sharps. So these are people that they work with in the same unit, in the same command. There's no independence. It's bias. And this has to be fixed. The system is broken. It's not working. That's correct. And we believe that the person that killed her is that person that sexually harassed her, the one that walked into the shower. She was taking a shower. She was in the locker room. He walked in and sat there, and she was very creeped out, as one would be. A young 19-year-old girl. Why is a man walking in his shower watching her? Who's her superior? So, this, again, shouldn't have happened, and now she's not with us. I'm sorry, are you finished with your question?
Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Could you tell us how this legislation would impact this going forward? How would it change folks' mindset when it comes to reporting these issues?
This legislation we would hope that it would provide a separate agency, something like the EEOC that we have in the private practice world. It would have an independent person, not part of the command, not part of the military, that's unbiased. A different set of eyes. No one has any skin in the game. It's going to be independent. It's going to be unbiased. It does a review, does its investigation, and therefore, like the rest of us in the civilian world, we have somebody to be able to review that, and obviously other ways and another venue to go to and disclose whatever information that you have.
On the ongoing investigation, whether it be the remains found, any updates
I
on
sure
that
did.
from Fort Hood?
I sure did. This morning, 7:30 in the morning, one of the JAGs got a beautiful call from me, and I said again, have any information? I mean, how do I find out information? How does this family find out information from the media before they find out from the command? What's going on? What a disrespect to this family. Can you imagine you losing your daughter and you're learning information as you go along from the media? Because the command doesn't feel like they owe this family information or facts. In fact, whenever they say anything, it's false. So how are we going to go about living like this and letting this happen, not just to us, but to others? Because if it happened to us, it happened to others. Like cockroaches behind Wonders 5. And I believe that this is what's happening on that base. And that's why we need a congressional investigation to review what's happened on that base. Who was covering up? Because remember, that armory room, there was supposed to be 2 people all times there. And then there's a separate person that has to get a lock keeper that has to get the 2 people in there. So there's 3 people all time, 3 eyes and ears. As we understand, there's a suspect in custody. The other one killed himself last night, and I understand a 3rd suspect in custody. And these are the eyes and the ears that were around Vanessa, that were harassing Vanessa. As we understand, there's 3.
Have they been named or known to authorities? Obviously, in the last little bit since the remains were found, they went in on, or closing in on this one guy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that they'd been looked at and been under suspicion all along?
We gave that information to the command. We informed the command when we were there at the meeting who we believe it is and why. From there, it seemed like the search went quicker, 60 days, and all of a sudden we have someone in custody. Last night they issued a BOLO, and that person ran off the base, as we understand, on foot and shot himself when they came up to him. This is that same person that we are talking about, her superior that she was with that day, that harassed her.
Family came into contact with as well? The day she went missing, I think. Was it Myra's
Yes,
name?
this is the one that Myra was talking about when she came to command, and he laughed at her. You know, and I'm not afraid to share his name because there was a bolo out for him. Aaron Robinson. Aaron David Robinson. I'm happy to send you guys the bolo that was issued last night. You know, why is it that we have to find out from people in the base this information? Because the command won't tell us? How dare they treat these people like second-class citizens? They lost their daughter. She was a soldier. We're supposed to be equal.
Washington Post. You know, Vanessa wasn't the first soldier to go missing at a military base, and especially at Fort Hood, where in the past they've had issues finding people. You know, the family has said that they were lied to, and the command was dishonest. Can you walk through what you believe some of those lies were? And it sounds like you're describing a lack of urgency in the search. Can you go in more detail?
Sure. So, you know, we understand with that base that there has been human trafficking. There's been so many. It's like another world on that base. You know, I've been to military bases. That base is just one usual suspect after another there. I don't know what's going on in that command. I don't like the way that they were evasive. When I questioned the protocol being breached, such as the check-in, the general came back with, oh, not everybody checks in. Really? Are you going to say that on the record? Not everybody checks in? Is that how you run your command? I mean, is it anarchy or is it a military base? That was an answer to try to distract us to think that, oh, it was on Vanessa. It was Vanessa's fault for not checking in, when in fact, we find out afterwards they counted for her falsely. They falsely accounted for her at 3 p.m. that day. Why do I have to learn this? I am not an inspector. I'm not a PI. I'm an attorney. And it only took me 24 hours to figure out the problem, and they're going to sit there and lie to me? They're going to lie to this family? Why? What is the cover-up for? We need transparency. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And I want everyone on that base to be reported on. I want a congressional investigation to find out who lied and why. Why was everyone covering up this missing person? Why weren't they transparent with this family? These are tax dollars. We pay these people with our own money to have these jobs, to do the right thing. Those soldiers that are there, I love our soldiers. I love them. I represent them on a daily basis. They don't deserve this mistreatment. This was mishandled from the start. And we should never allow this happen again. It has to be investigated. So,
I say if any other female soldiers in that same base have reported.
Oh yeah, a lot of reporting. I mean, go on. I am Vanessa Guillen. What is it? The hashtag I am Vanessa Guillen. Look, there are hundreds. It's awful. You know, there's missing soldiers. There's soldiers that are shot. I understand last year there was a lady, a mother in her car on the base that was killed on the base with 4 children. Did that ever make the news? That's in Fort Hood. What's going on in that place? And how did they continue to cover up these crimes? What is going on? We need to know. We need answers. We deserve answers. Our taxpayer money is taking care of that base, supporting that base. We deserve transparency and answers. Anyone else?
What can the Secretary of Defense do in the meantime while the congressional bill is being pushed to protect our servicewomen and men?
Well, I would love for the Secretary to, first of all, call this family, give his support, give his commitment that he will make sure that this never happens again, that he will turn that base upside down. He will also support a congressional investigation of that base. That's a good start, After that, what could they do? I think the DOD, IG's office can come in, the FBI can come in. I mean, we have a lot of other agencies. We don't need that base to investigate itself. I saw what a great job they did on this case. We don't need any more investigations by that base.
Mayra, ¿nos puedes decir cómo está tu mamá y qué están esperando? ¿Cuándo esperan que les digan si es Vanessa o si no es Vanessa?
One here. I understand 48 to 72 hours. Well, I'll tell you, yesterday I arrived with the parents, the family, and the first thing I did is I went to the hotel, and there was fire trucks, paramedics out front. My biggest fear came to light there. Vanessa's mom was out there having short of breath, symptoms of a heart attack, hard breathing. You know, this family is suffering. This shouldn't happen. You know, they come to Washington, D.C. to get justice, and they find out that their sister's remains were possibly recovered. You know, they drove here from Texas. Think of this. They drove here from Texas. That's commitment. We need everyone to be committed with them.
Que les han demostrado su apoyo hoy para hacer una investigación congresal, por favor.
We're asking all our congressmen and women, all our senators to come up and support this. I spoke to Senator Kennedy's office a few days ago. I told them how important this bill, this initiative is. They were very supportive of it. Gillibrand's office, I understand, is very supportive of it. You know, we want everybody, both sides of the aisle. This isn't a Democratic or Republican, a woman, a man thing. This is an American matter. This is a national security issue. National security. If we're losing our soldiers here, not because of ISIS, not because of terrorism, but because of domestic terrorism on our bases and cover-ups by commands. I mean, have you heard of this? Have you ever heard of a boss killing their subordinate? I mean, this is insane. Who is safe to go to work if you go to work and you're dying not from war, but because your command is harassing you, murdering you, and everyone's covering up? That is not our military. Those bad folks, they are not the identity of our military. They do not speak for our military. As she says, they are inhumane. They're savages. They are not our military. They are dishonorable. They do not account for who our country is. I want everyone to know, every family has a weird uncle, a strange cousin. Those people do not identify the Army or our military. They sure don't. They're that weird person that nobody wants in the home. Nobody wants at the party. And unfortunately, they took over that base. They ruined a whole family. Families, because you know how many friends and families Vanessa had? Look at her social media. Thousands of people from all over the world. I'm getting phone calls, text messages, emails. I feel like she's my daughter. I feel like she's my sister. I feel like I can relate to her. I feel like she's me. I'm hearing this and seeing this. This is not what America's about. It's not about coming to this country and getting murdered when you want to serve. We need justice. Want to say that?
Queremos que todos los representantes